Hi, welcome to The Hash. I'm Zack Seward. I have Will Foxley. I have Jen Sanasie. And I have Naomi Brockwell. And Naomi has the first story of the day. Naomi, start us up. Let's do this thing.
I'm going to start us off. We're going to talk about Binance. So some new hires going on, which are pretty interesting. A former US Treasury enforcement investigator is now the global money laundering reporting officer at Binance. Greg Monahan joins Binance. He has 30 years of experience in government service, mostly as a US Treasury criminal investigator, which is pretty interesting to see Binance just completely ramp up their regulatory compliance efforts. And we've seen that the UK is looking to hire a CEO that has a regulatory background. You say that CZ himself is looking to step down and replace himself as CEO with someone who also comes from a regulatory background. Binance to me was kind of this epitome of open access, and it was this nomadic company that existed all around the world. And now it's like, we are the regulatory compliance one. We are the one that's going to be hiring people with 30 years US Treasury criminal investigation, running things. It's just a very interesting turnaround from my point of view. I'm going to throw this to you, Will. What are your thoughts on all of this? Where's Binance heading next?
So I have a few different things I want to pull on here. So I think it's interesting to look at past enforcement actions against exchanges and against protocols and seeing kind of where Binance is headed right now. It makes sense for them to kind of like staff up, but that doesn't mean that they're going to get away with anything that the CFTC or SEC or whatever umbrella regulatory body out there is chasing them down right now. If you look at BitMEX, they just got slapped down with a $100 million fine for the investigation I think that the Treasury conducted against them. And then we've also seen like other protocols over the last few years, like EOS, for example, got slapped with like a $25 million fine for operating their ICO, basically, which they called a securities, unregistered securities sale. So I think it's interesting to see like those past actions and be like, hey, they're still going to get slapped. It doesn't matter if you like hire a lot of people. And then I want to see what Zack thinks about the Bryant Brooks fallout that happened just a few weeks ago, or maybe even a week or two ago. They can hire all these people, but that doesn't mean that they're going to stick around. And that doesn't mean that once they're inside Binance and they kind of see how things look, that they're going to want to kind of get Binance out of this quagmire that's in right now. But Zack, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if, this guy gets cold feet, right? So, Brooks left reportedly over strategic differences, creative differences, and the band broke up. And now they're trying to bring on as many suits as possible to assuage the fears of global regulators. And hey, it might work, it might not. I think right now they're very much in the position of being like, okay, cool, we're complying with the law. We're very compliant with the law. We love the law. And if that sort of keeps the crypto cops at bay, then good for them. But I think it's still a very open question as to whether or not this enforcement against Binance is going to ramp up. We saw this morning that the Netherlands issued a warning against Binance for not operating with proper licenses. We may see more of that follow, and we may see more serious things follow that. But I think in the meantime, it's incumbent upon Binance to prove that, hey, we are going to do this by the letter of the law, and hey, we're going to hire people who have the expertise to make sure that we comply with global money regulations. So Binance remains really super duper interesting. And I just want to kick it back to you, Naomi, because I think the point is very apt, right? I mean, this used to be the freewheeling, footloose, and fancy free crypto exchange that was able to capture the market because of just that. Can they do that in a world where they're severely hamstrung by regulations? And I think that's probably the big existential question that folks at Binance are facing right now, and whether or not it looks like, hey, we're just a participant in the BSC ecosystem, or we're going to do something different to make sure that people are cool with us. I don't know. I'm just really interested to see how the Binance story unfolds here in the coming months. Will, I saw your hand up, so if you have a thought, go for it. But Naomi, I definitely wanted your take.
Will,
I just wanted to bring I want to bring into conversation the SEC action against Poloniex that happened, I think, 2 weeks ago as well. And that kind of points to the fact that it doesn't matter who you have on your staff now. It doesn't matter the direction you're trending. The government is still going to dock you for your past actions no matter what. If you're in violations of their interpretations of securities laws, from 2018 to now or whenever, it doesn't matter. They're going to fine you for that period. I think now, like staffing up, it just helps you get along with lesser fines or lesser punishment than otherwise you'd get. But Naomi, your thoughts?
Yeah, I will say that question you raised, Zach, about where's Binance heading? Can they still be this behemoth that's super, super popular? Everyone uses it, even if it's kind of mired by these regulations. I think you just need to look at the difference between Binance US and Binance. No one uses Binance US, and there's a reason for that, because they don't offer nearly as many coin pairings. They don't have as much liquidity on there. Binance was the place to go because they weren't concerned about regulation. They weren't concerned about listing something the US might consider a security. And so everyone went there because they were grateful to have this service that was giving them exactly what they wanted. Now, Binance probably stupidly thought that because they weren't based in the US and because they weren't offering these services to US customers and would block the IP addresses of the US, that, that was compliant. But no, we have learned from BitMEX that even if you do that, the US government is still going to arrest your CEO. I don't understand where they got that, jurisdictional power from. I obviously disagree with it. It's ridiculous. And as we said on the show before, if we were to turn the tables and say, like, what if China was doing this? What if China turned around and said, hey, Brian Armstrong, we've noticed that some people in China are getting access to Coinbase. We're going to arrest you. Like, there would be uproar. There would be international outrage about that. Yet when the US government does it, no one blinks an eye. And I think it's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, I do think that the US regulatory environment is getting really bad. I think they're going after international companies like Binance, and they're going to rein them in until they comply with US law, no matter where in the global community they are. And everyone's going to suffer a result, and it's really sad to see. And I think the only hope at this stage is decentralized exchanges, which can sort of circumvent all of this. But let's, on that very, very dark and pessimistic look, move to something that's a lot more exciting, actually.
Yes, let's do that. We're going to talk about MobileCoin, which just raised a big splashy Series B from some prominent backers. MobileCoin may be possibly best known as the project that's advised by Signal founder Moxie Marlinspike. They provide sort of privacy-enhanced payments technology. They're currently in beta in Signal in limited jurisdictions. They also have a tie-up with, I think, a Chinese messaging app that's produced quite a bit of traction over there. So they are seeing the moment. They're raising $66 million, and they're going to see if they can make mobile native payments work in the crypto context. And I think this one is interesting. This remains, to me, one of the last of this kind of crop of messenger native payments projects that were really exciting and excited coming out of the last big crypto cycle. So to see MobileCoin is still being around, still raising fresh capital to execute on their vision is super interesting. I'm going to toss this down to Jen. Jen, MobileCoin is a project I think sometimes gets overlooked. They have the MOB, the MOB token, that's doing pretty decently in the market.
I love that it's called the MOB token.
And also, interestingly, they revealed in an interview with CoinDesk that they're working on a stablecoin, which I think is really notable for a project such as this. What do you see in the messenger space when it comes to crypto, and can MobileCoin seize the day?
I think there's a huge opportunity for payments in the messenger space. And up until, we haven't yet, but up until now, we've seen projects kind of get a little bit of a kickstart and then fizzle away. I'm very excited that Sam Bankman-Fried is behind this. I think he has such a great mind, and the fact that he's putting money into this and the coin is listed on FTX, again, speaks to that trust for our mainstream audience that I talk about so much on this show. And I think that he's a trusted name in the space. I think having him back this is a really awesome thing. And I hope we see it take off. We've seen mobile payments in messaging apps take place take off in Africa. When I was there, M-Pesa was something that the local people used a lot. And so I think there's a real market for it, and the fact that SBF is behind it is really exciting. But I saw, Naomi, you put your hand up.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. Like, we have two potential futures, right? One of them is where Facebook puts out their DM and we have in-messaging app payments become normalized and they run it, which means that all of your financial data is harvested and tracked and monitored, and there's no privacy in messaging app payments. And then you have Signal with MobileCoin, and that is an alternative future that is becoming more and more of a reality, especially, like, this is news to me that China's Mixin Messenger has yielded over 1 million MobileCoin transactions. That's really, really incredibly exciting. And I think it's interesting because Signal gets a lot of flack because it's this kind of open source situation. But then for a while, they just weren't updating the GitHub and everyone was like, this has become closed source. What are they doing? But if you actually look at the result of this, I mean, Facebook announced that they're doing the DM, immediately shut down. Telegram announced that they're doing the ton, immediately shut down. Signal said, oh, we're not doing anything. We're also not updating our code at the moment, so people can't see what we're integrating. Also, there's this completely separate company that we're not a part of that's MobileCoin. We just happen to be integrating their product. And it's just such a good way to do it because this might actually succeed. And it looks like it is succeeding right now. And if we can normalize privacy in payments, and to a state, like, we've seen a huge, like, we had the biggest digital migration in history when everyone left WhatsApp and went to Telegram and Signal earlier this year. And that was just so huge, right? So we know that people are using Signal. This is becoming an increasingly popular messaging app. The style and the flow of the user experience is so similar to what we're used to. It doesn't feel like a private messaging app, and yet we're getting all the benefits. And so privacy is becoming normalized. And if they can add private payments to that, start to normalize that, I think that is going to just do such a tremendous amount of good.
Yeah, really interesting to consider kind of the game theory there, right? How do you approach this thing? How do you make this get across the finish line? And if MobileCoin really has been clever in playing the long game, then credit to them. I think it's interesting. We also saw this morning after this news came out that David Marcus, who runs the Novi wallet at Facebook, the Novi subsidiary that was involved in Libra and now DM, they posted on Medium, or David Marcus posted on Medium, hey, we're ready to go to market. If regulators and the financial industry will let us play in that space. Right. So it's interesting to see that DM, which has kind of been quietly, ostensibly moving toward an actual launch, but really mired in a regulatory morass. It's just interesting to see David Marcus come out and, elaborate on why that product might be in the world soon. So really interesting if we go back to Naomi's point and see a world in which there's a DM messenger native payment system, and then MobileCoin and others leading the privacy charge. Should be interesting to see in the next few months. Will, I want to go to you before we change gears. What do you got?
Yeah, I just have a question for Naomi. I just don't see the difference between DM, which is obviously a currency backed by a corporation, and something like MobileCoin, which is a currency backed by a bunch of VCs. If you're looking for like a neutral money, then obviously you don't want anyone to have some sort of stake into how it's created. So I just don't see the difference between the two things that you're arguing
Why
for.
wouldn't you want people having stake in, doesn't that make the product better? That if someone has stake in it, they're going to put more effort into it? I mean, you look at Zcash. Zcash was funded as well by VCs, and there's zero information on the blockchain. There's no way for data to be manipulated or controlled. I mean, the point is the privacy aspect, right? And the privacy isn't deteriorated just because VCs are involved. I mean, it's an open project. It's you can clearly audit it. I don't see how that's at all hurt just because you have people who have vested interest. I mean, I have a vested interest in Bitcoin. I have a vested interest in a bunch of different cryptocurrencies. Just because you have individuals who decide to put their capital where their mouth is, it doesn't mean that it somehow makes the project less worthy.
Well, then you can argue the same for DM, though, with that same line of logic,
Except for the history of Facebook, where they've literally betrayed our trust, stolen our data, sold their, because they don't have the data.
A corporation is a corporation. I think that's the promise of Bitcoin, though, right?
But they don't have the data.
It's a neutral currency. That's what makes Bitcoin different, is it's a neutral currency.
Look at the technology. Does the technology make it so that these corporations can't have access? I mean, Proton Mail has deliberately set itself up so that they don't collect data. Signal has deliberately set it up so that if they get subpoenaed, they have no information to give people. Right. And so the MobileCoin has deliberately set itself up so it doesn't have information. So if it's subpoenaed, it can't give that information. I don't see how that's any different. Why you think money is this completely different entity.
If money is involved, Sam Bankman-Fried didn't put money into this project because he's expecting to not make money back on it somehow. There's money going into it. That's I think
I
the
hope
difference
he
between
does,
Bitcoin
and I hope that by him supporting,
is that Satoshi didn't put money into this to get money out
this
of
new
it.
innovation.
Break it up. I'm gonna do my best boxing referee.
There's not a coin you don't like.
I'm just laughing here. Like
the fighters are like you guys are buddying. You're locked up.
The risk. I hope the people who
wrap
take the risk and put money into this and support it, and they're the ones who are funding it and help it grow, I hope they see a return on that investment. I presume that because FTX is one of the only places where you can trade MobileCoin, that if this gets popular, I hope he makes a ton of money for supporting this. And I hope it encourages other people to support privacy coins rather than delist them, because that's the current trend. And people like, Bankman-Fried are coming out and saying, actually, I want to support privacy. So kudos to him. You're not a bad person just because you're investing in things. That's literally how society grows and innovates.
Ding, ding, ding. Round's over. Moving on.
Right.
We're talking about Doge now. Jen.
We got to move on to Doge. All right. So the Dogecoin Foundation is back. All right. So this time they have some new board members. One of them is Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin, who will be the foundation's blockchain and crypto advisor. Another notable member, Jared Birchall, who was appointed by Elon Musk. He's the head of the Musk family office and is going to serve as the foundation's legal advisor. So what they're hoping to do is secure a 3-year budget so that they can have a small team working on Doge full time. I put in a special request for these cute little Doges to show up on our screen. All the advisors. These are all of the advisors. These are their. It's like their headshot. Their Shiba Inu little
Gary
cartoon headshots
on there.
Oh my gosh! That's the dance party. They're going to win a Nobel Prize for partying. So they're going to stay busy. Yeah, a little bit of reporting this morning that they set up a foundation in Liechtenstein, I believe. So this thing is going to be serious now. They want to protect the Doge brand and make sure that there's someone sort of steering the ship of a project that has a big old market cap at present. But yeah, I don't know. Look at those little cute Doges.
Well, that was my question to you, Naomi. I've asked so many times on this show, when are we going to take Doge serious? And one of your answers has always been that there's no team working on this. And now we have the Doge Foundation has come back to life. What does this tell you?
Okay, so I definitely have some thoughts about this. It's kind of brilliant, right? You have this meme coin that's a joke that everyone knows about, that has been around since 2014 and hasn't disappeared. And then you have people start to revive it little by little, and you have the, DDP folks being like, we're going to win a Nobel Prize for partying and Dogecoin is our hero and all of this. And then you have Elon Musk being like, Doge is the greatest thing. And suddenly people are like, Dogecoin. And it's this brand. Like, you have this empty shell of a development team where nothing is going on, this coin that everyone's heard of but no one respects, and suddenly you're like, okay, that's actually a brand that has a lot of potential. Let's just reinvigorate it. If their main concern is that no one's working on this, well, we've already got the brand working for us. Why don't we just add people to the team? So it is kind of a very interesting play. I don't know what's going to happen with it, because a lot of people also have pushed back against the tokenomics of Dogecoin itself. But if they can get this going, I mean, as I said, it already has the brand. People know about it. People love it. So why not reinvigorate this, pour some money into it? It seems like it's a pretty good bet for them, to be honest. But Will, I'll throw it to you. Do you think people pouring money into this, that's going to really compromise the project, because money is so evil, and you definitely don't want people investing in good projects?
We got to leave that in the last segment. All right,
we can't carry it on. Unrelated question.
Don't bring your MobileCoin issues to Dodgeland. This is supposed to be a happy segment. This is all butterflies and doggies. So,
okay. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page with this, and we like the VC money this time.
I'm interested in the Vitalik aspect of this. This man does not have the time to be helping out with this team. I tracked him for 2 solid years reporting on him. And so I know he doesn't have time for this. So I'm wondering what his involvement is. It's probably some sort of spiritual figurehead. Maybe he's helping out with some of the plans that Elon had. Elon really wanted to increase the base load transaction speed on the L1 side. Vitalik probably has some ideas there. But besides that, I don't really understand his involvement. I'd just say, Vitalik, we need some tweets from you. What are you doing with Doge here? I want to know. Zach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's the big question right now. What is Vitalik doing in this group of people? And I think there's some answers that I don't want to leak my alpha right now, but I think there's some answers out there that could be quite interesting for the future of Dogecoin, and we're going to see if we can pin those down.
Dogecoin sidechain on Ethereum.
Who knows? I don't know. Probably not that. Anyway,
Jen,
over to you.
I was going to say, Vitalik is now on the board of advisors for Doge. He's voicing a cartoon character for Mila Kunis. Like, it feels like maybe some of his time has been freed up, Will. I don't know. The story did say,
He hasn't shipped yet. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Point. Get back to work, Vitalik. Come on.
In the coming weeks, the foundation is going to announce new projects that complement the core wallet and enable faster integration and easier APIs for financial, social, and charitable projects. So it looks like they're really focusing on that integration, and maybe we're going to see more merchants and charities accepting Doge, and we'll just be one big happy Doge spending, holding world.
I'm going to stick to my privacy coins.
Excellent.
Thanks.
That's all I got.
Can we talk about penguins now?
Yeah, let's talk about
we can talk about penguins.
We're just going to get progressively more and more fun.
Yeah. We started with the MobileCoin was pretty silly, and then we got even worse here. So let's go to the pudgy penguins and some apes. So according to some new data from Coinmetrics and reported on CoinDesk, non-fungible token trading is still doing pretty well, with some 6,000 trades per day over the past week on the largest NFT marketplace, OpenSea. So that's kind of trailing against the trends for like searches of NFTs on Google. So if you look over the last few months, you'll see that NFTs, like NFT mania, really spiked in March of this year. But trading for these NFTs, whether they be Bored Apes or pudgy penguins, are up even higher than they were previously during the year, which leads Coinmetrics to believe that there could be a lot more higher highs to come. And there you go. You got some pudgy penguins on the right, which have done really well recently. In fact, they made it to the New York Times. So that's a big win for the penguins. Zach, what do you think about pudgy penguins? How many do you have?
I think they're so cute. I have no pengu. I will, full disclosure, my Twitter avatar right now is a sup duck. So I do have a couple of NFTs. But yeah, it's interesting to see this
the lame
take
ones,
off.
though.
I mean, hey man,
Not
well,
any
dude,
cool
I like it.
You're
I like
so
it.
mean
It
today,
speaks to me.
Will.
It speaks to
A
me. I
sup
like the
duck?
little duck.
What is
yeah,
that?
sup duck.
Is that like a
It's
Solana
cool.
NFT?
No.
Oh my
it's on
God.
Ethereum.
Why are you throwing so much shade today? It's not
Throwing
nice.
so
Leave
much
Solana
shade.
out of it.
Stop attacking my cute little sup duck, okay? God. Anyway, yeah, I blame. Honestly, I think like when Stani Kulichov changed his Twitter profile to a pengu, I think that really kicked it into overdrive. So anyway, it's interesting to see these things happen. I'm kind of glad that we were proven wrong that this whole NFT thing had legs, right? Like, it's interesting to see these communities rally around these and for it to keep going. I mean, we saw Super Rare, which is a competing NFT platform, just do a governance token drop yesterday, the Rare token. Decentralizing the platform a little bit and giving more control to people who have used it in the past. Would be interesting to see if something is in the cards like that for OpenSea going forward. Rarible, of course, did this a while ago with the Rari token. So the NFT world is kind of figuring itself out and is rallying these little communities around these drops. You know, people are sort of like on the prowl for the next new hot mint that, you know, people can get in on. And these are just these little like crypto social communities of people who are like, I don't know, motivated by the same aesthetic choices or something. So anyway, interesting to see it pumping so much. I don't know, like, yeah, it's jumping onto other chains. Like Solana had like an ape NFT drop that went really well over the weekend after some initial technical challenges. But yeah, all in all, the NFT thing is quite remarkable to see as people ape into these things.
What side are you guys on? Pengus or apes?
Yeah, who's a pengu and who's team pengu and who's team ape? Let's go to Jen.
If I could afford a pengu, I'd be pengu guy.
Yeah, I'm pengu. Naomi?
She's an
I
ape.
want to see.
Naomi's going to say subduct.
She hesitated.
Zach's profile. I want to see his
See,
duck.
look,
my god.
he has a newspaper hat on, okay? Because I'm a newsman. See, newspaper hat.
Oh my
That's-
gosh.
Zach, I'm
see
with
that?
Will here.
You see that?
Yeah, that's
terrible.
lame.
Tired newspaper hat.
Get
Potentially
it
stoned
Zach.
duck. I'm into
We
it,
love you
man.
anyways.
I'm into it. Thank you.
How
We
about
love
Yat,
you
though?
anyways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Those Yats are pretty
Thank you.
cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yats are super cool.
I got all the tchotchkes. I got all the pieces of flair out there. So anyway.
Absolutely. I did want to mention they, an interesting point was brought up in this article about the penguins, because NFTs, they're priced in Ether a lot of the time. That's generally where a lot of the NFT action is happening, even though, as we mentioned, it is expanding to other chains. But rises in ETH prices, that may deter people from getting involved when NFT prices suddenly go through the roof, right? But on the other side of things, when you have all of these new NFT sales, like that would attract new users as well. Like, does the movement in price in Ethereum, is that helping or hurting new people getting involved with NFTs? Because if people are seeing the price of Ether go up, they probably want to be gobbling up more of these NFTs. And so, like, it could work either way. I'm just not quite sure how the game theory plays out. What are your thoughts, Will?
No, that's a great point that was brought up in the article, that as the price of Ether increases, it costs more to get into the NFT game. But if the price of Ether increases, more people are likely to get into the NFT game because they want everything that's priced in Ether. And so, like, if you have a Bored Ape or whatever and it's priced in Ether, price of Ether goes up, the value of your random JPEG also goes up. I don't know where that kind of ends. I think that we saw with Binance Smart Chain earlier this year that there was like a lot of NFT drops on that chain, and that kind of acted as like a substitute good of sorts for NFTs. But at the same time, it's like on a different chain, and nobody seems to like them as much as like the main chain NFTs. So don't really have an answer for you, but dynamic kind of play out.
Just off the back of that, Will, too, the article, we compare Google searches to the actual trading volume and NFTs. And I don't know that you can really do that, because I think people are hearing a lot about NFTs and searching for them, and maybe seeing that the ETH price is so high, or they're not entirely sure how to get involved and, set up a wallet and do all of the things you need to do to get an NFT. And so I guess the interest is there, and maybe that signals that there are still barriers to entry for our mainstream audience and the people who understand how to operate and who love NFTs and who have held ETH for a really long time or playing in it, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I would say that
totally
there are like the mainstream ones too, right? We have this Tom Brady autograph thing that like went live on DraftKings, which is a pretty mainstream venue that very much abstracts the blockchain process from these drops. I mean, let's be real, for a lot of people, these are speculative assets that are rapidly growing in value that you can get at a low price and sell at a high price. And that is always attractive to people who are in the space for a long time and people who are potentially considering joining the space. So we'll have to see.
So
we'll have to see about this whole NFT thing. And some of them are cute, especially those penguins, especially those pengu. All right, let's wrap it. Let's wrap this show. Good times, everybody. Will, Naomi, you guys okay? Is everything all right? You guys still friends?
Wait,
Listen, Will, we got to pick this back up.
Let's do a high five. Let's do a high five.
Bump it.
You got to do the corners. You guys are in the corners.
Good stuff.
We're in the corners.
Good sportsmanship.
Good
It's really hard.
Well done. Well done.
And also, there's a delay. So it's like, there we go.
I also don't mean
Will,
it,
high
but I'm
five
gonna
me.
do it anyways. Oh wait, wrong way.
All right.
There we go. No, you don't mean it?
We know
You're
what
like,
we're doing.
oh my God.
We definitely know what we're
That's
doing.
a wrap.
All right, anyway.
That's a show.
Whatever.
That's a wrap, folks. That's the hash for Wednesday. Thanks so much for sticking with us. CoinDesk.com. We're here all the time. Crypto never sleeps. CoinDesk TV, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's your next time to engage. Check out All About Bitcoin if you want. We will hash it out again on Thursday, and it should be fun. So thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Adios.
Bye.
Bye.